You guys good? All right. I will call the meeting to order. This is the regular Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting of April 17th, 2023. It is 7:03. We will start with our open forum. So if there is anyone on the line or any listening, each speaker is to keep their comment period to 3 minutes to allow sufficient time for others. Comments are an opportunity to address the HRA, and please refer to the HRA agenda and minutes webpage for additional ways to submit comments. You can also call us at 612-861-9764 or email ldubois@richfieldmn.gov with questions. You can also call into the forum by dialing 1-415-655-0001 using webinar access code 2458567468. The password is 1234. Is there anyone online right now for open forum?
There is not.
Okay, well, if anybody comes through, let us know and we'll interrupt and listen to them. All right, so then I will move on to approval of the minutes of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority work session of March 20th, 2023, and the regular Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting of March 20th, 2023. Is there a motion for approval?
I will make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. Any comments, questions, or changes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes are approved. And we will start with, I think we're missing this, but is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. We will move to item number 1, which is the 2022 HRA and EDA year in review presentation.
Thank you, Chair Vreese Daniels. Julie and I are going to present tonight, and if it's okay with you, I think we'll just stay over here rather than stand. Okay, if we can get the presentation up on the screen, just 1 second.
Hey. Can we see it on our? Good God, really?
All right, thank you. Now we're all set. And we, as mentioned, we're going to do the Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the Economic Development Authority year in review together, rather than present you with 2 different presentations at your meetings tonight. Hopefully, there we go. All right, so some themes of 2022. A lot of new staff, new director, myself, new roles. Julie took on a new role as the assistant director. We have a new housing specialist. Our longtime accountant retired, and we've been unable to fill that role. We had some reorganization in the department, and that left us down 1 redevelopment manager for the year. So 2022 was really a year of people learning new roles, getting to feel comfortable in those roles, taking on additional responsibilities as we couldn't fill positions, and trying to balance workloads. Also, development started to slow in 2022 as a result of rising interest rates, costs to build, labor costs, material costs, all of those things really coming to bear in 2022. So in addition to managing the projects that were in the pipeline in 2022, we spent a lot of time preparing and planning for the future, and we'll go over some of those things. But our housing programs remained very strong in 2022, and maybe I'll start with some of those and just talk about how the work that we do is really about the people of Richfield. In 2022, we served 618 households between the HRA and EDA. That's 10 first-time homebuyer households, 23 households receiving that were part of apartment remodeling loans, 22 kids at home households, 78 architectural or remodeling consultations, 358 Section 8 households, 6 transformation loans, 5 remodeling or home maintenance loans, 9 households paid off loans this year, 5 households refinanced, 61 households received home energy squad visits. There were 2 Richfield Rediscovered households, 2 new home, 11 small businesses and apartments received energy efficiency grants, 21 new town homeowners, and 7 new manufactured homebuyer opportunities. So that is a lot of people in Richfield being served by the work that we do in partnership with you. So starting with those redevelopment projects, the things that were already in the pipeline, we had the Riley and the Raya apartments. Those were both completed in 2022. Also, the Linview began construction. That's the project at 65th and Lindale, 157 units there, and 8,000 square feet of commercial space. That's to open yet here in 2023. We also had some owner-occupied housing. That's the 32 affordable units that were completed as part of RF64. 8 market rate units have been completed, and there are 24 market rate units still under construction. Those are to be completed very soon, estimated to be in May. Just a couple of images of that work covering all of those projects. Projects that are planned, we've got the Henley 3, also known as the Emmy, also known as the project at 101 66th Street, one of those projects that we've been working on for a long time. It's 80 new units, 20% of those would be affordable, and then some ground floor commercial. We also continue to work with MICC to build their new space and affordable housing, and then continued our work with Richfield Flats in their quest for tax credits. So continuing to support all of those projects as we try to see them come to fruition in the community. Projects that were introduced were the Vets Village project. That included the Legion offices, banquet space, a restaurant, and then a lot of housing units on that very underutilized space along Portland Avenue. And the Astor Commons project, which is by Beacon Interfaith over here near the roundabout and City Hall. So those are the new concepts that we heard, and just a couple of images of things that will hopefully be moving forward here in 2023. As I mentioned, development really started to slow in 2022. It was the high construction costs, the interest rates. There's limited capital available. The banking crisis has just made that worse. There was a hub concept that was introduced. That project is now on hold. We're hoping yet to see something happen at the hub in 2023, but the market will dictate that. The Veterans Village project is at the legislature, asking for some funds to fill their funding gap. And the Henley 3, we're in talks with them right now about some of the difficulties they're having financing that project with these rising costs. So while there weren't a whole lot of new projects introduced, we spent some time planning for the future. The HRA, EDA, and Council met to talk about the Mathwig properties as well as the HRA properties at 77 and 494. We adopted a gateway vision for those properties and have worked with that property owner to attract something to that newly accessible corner of Richfield, or soon accessible. We picked up the World of Fish property on 66th Street. We now own 4 parcels on 66th Street, and we'll hopefully be able to work with some small businesses to invest and really take advantage of what we've done with the transportation network on 66 and see some revitalization there. And then the building at 6501 Penn, that was the problematic bumper-to-bumper building, which when the development proposal fell through for that site, we decided to go ahead and demolish that building. We also worked on the TIF management plan. We discussed that a couple of times with you. We worked hard with that on Ellers, and that's really to maximize the benefits of the pooled TIF that we've been able to capture through some of these redevelopment projects over the last 20 years. Our spending plan was adopted, giving us added flexibility to use some of those funds, and then $750,000 was transferred to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. We also focused on business assistance this year. The EDA has really focused on that. Our strategic plan added some focus to that. As we discussed in the previous meeting, the energy efficiency business grants, we spent $15,000 of the $20,000 budgeted in 2022. There were 11 recipients this year: Wolf Central, MOA Hospitality Group, Highland Management Group, Metro Pawn and Gun, the ARC, Hague Commercial Properties, Audio Perfection, Protagonist, a couple of Richfield Amico gas stations, Main Street Village, and Michael Development. So a wide variety of businesses were able to take advantage of that program this year. We also created the Economic Development Manager position that went into the budget in 2022, and early here in 2023, we've been able to fill that position. And then we contracted for the Economic Development Report that was presented to you earlier this evening, really teeing us up to move forward with the expansion of some of this programming. And I'm going to turn it over to Julie.
Great, thank you, Chair Rees-Daniels, members of the commission. Just talk a little bit about affordable housing and the progress we made there. We start with our inclusionary housing policy, which we adopted back in 2019 formally. We'd been informally following some sort of a policy prior to that. But so total, what we have been able to implement since 2019 is 179 new rental units and 77 owner-occupied units, and then 4 ADA accessible units. And those have primarily been in the 50% AMI and 60% AMI units. And as you know, we're working hard to try to get some of those more deeply affordable units. Some other things relating to affordable housing, as Melissa mentioned, we were able to identify $750,000 for our Affordable Housing Trust Fund, something that we established back in 2020, and have been working to identify funds to be able to give us some flexibility to help encourage projects. Our new home program is a long-time program. It was one of the very first HRA programs back in the early 70s, and we continue to operate with that program. And this year we were able to build a new home with Habitat for Humanity at 66 and Logan. Some of you look and drive by it, look at it and or drive by it regularly. That's exciting. That will finish up here this spring. And then we also have a long-time partnership with the Homes Within Reach, which is the Suburban Land Trust. And so they were able to purchase a home and they rehab it and then make it available to income qualified households. And then it's considered really permanent affordability. They are able to maintain that affordability for 99 years. As Melissa mentioned already, we have been working with 3 all-affordable multifamily developments. The one, Astor Commons, that was introduced in 2022, and then Richfield Flats and MICC, which were introduced prior to that, but we continue to work on that. We're really trying to identify funding. We weren't successful receiving funding in 2022, which was a disappointment. Richfield Flats, as you know, is going to try again this year. MICC is still struggling with what's the best way to move forward with that, because part of their mission is also to have offices and classroom space and to wait for this continual only once a year rounds of affordable housing is a challenge for them. So more to come on that. We're working hard, continue to work hard on moving those forward. And And then Woodlawn Terrace, as you know, the residents themselves were able to purchase the co-op in 2021, and then in 2022 get started on some work. With a lot of your help, we're going to be providing money for utility work, but in 2022 we also, they started rehab of a structure that you provided funds for, and they also started bringing in some new units. And so here's some pictures. Up on the upper left is the Land Trust home, and then pictures of the Habitat for Humanity home being constructed at 66th and Logan. And then some fun pictures from Woodlawn Terrace. So part of, them buying the property was to preserve home ownership. And there happens to be one permanent structure on there. It's an old tourist cabin from the 30s, and they are lovingly rehabbing that, and it'll provide 2 affordable rental units. And it's kind of fun to see the dark, dingy paneling and then how bright it looks now. And they'll be finishing that work up soon with your assistance. And then the new home ownership opportunities. This is one of the 7 units they were able to bring in. And there are some challenges with financing these units because it's not a traditional mortgage. And so that's been a challenge. But 3 of the 7 units have been sold, and we're excited about that for them. And then we also in 2022 applied for a grant in partnership with them to Met Council to help bring in some larger units and to fill the gap of making those affordable to households that earn no more than 80% of the area median income. And we actually were awarded the grant, although that was in 2023. So that's a spoiler alert for next year's presentation. But hopefully a lot of it will have been spent by then. So we have quite a few, as you know, programs for our renter residents. We have our apartment remodeling loan program. And we've struggled a little bit getting this money out the door since the pandemic. It's a challenge to do remodeling in units that are occupied. But interest has been picking up this year, so I think we're going to get back to getting that money spent. We started a pilot program last year for, we have over 700 single-family rental units in the community, and that they need some work, some of them, and we were able to issue one loan under that pilot program. And it was a home that had work relating to our rental housing inspection program, and so it was a good partnership to see that happen. We'll be working through the budget process to see if we're able to find resources to continue that program in 2023. And as you know, we administer locally the Housing Choice Voucher Program, or Section 8 program. We're very proud of our staff and our ability to really provide great service to our residents and clients in this program. Real personalized service, I think. And the big news from 2022 was that we opened our waiting list for the first time since 2015. That's a big job. They accepted 3,700 applications. The computer randomly selected 600 applicants. Since that time, 204 applications have been processed. 30 new vouchers have been issued from that list, as well as 3 from the old list, finishing that list up. And 26 of those vouchers have been utilized so far, which is actually a pretty good percentage. So we're excited about that. And as you know, the other program we're super proud of is our Kids at Home program. We served 22 families in 2022. And the exciting news in that program was just the ability to return to in-person parent share meetings. Parent share is the support services and community building activities that happen for our families. And just a couple of pictures. You can see we had an in-person event here at City Hall where the kids get to tour the fire station while the parents do their thing, and then the couple of examples of the apartment remodeling. And then I just threw in a picture of what's called the Rama Reporter, and it's a quarterly newsletter we send out to our apartment managers in our attempt to help support them and help them to be run quality apartments. And then we have programs for homeowners as well. As another program we're very proud of is our first-time home buyer or down payment assistance program, and we did make 10 loans in 2022 for $195,000. We actually rebudgeted some funds because we were running low, and we thought, let's go for it if we have people that are willing to and able to spend this money, which of course now this year has been a challenge given the higher interest rates. One of the main goals of this program when we started it was to address our home ownership disparity rate here in the community and to offer better opportunities for people who have been historically shut out of the homeownership market. And you can see from our stats that we're doing a good job there, and that 76% overall have been to non-white households, and 74% with children, 9% people with disabilities, and then 41% of the recipients have been Richfield renters, which is a kind of a long time thing that happens here. Is a lot of our renters become homeowners. So that's an exciting program. Richfield Rediscovered program, we completed one home over on 2nd Avenue. There is one currently under construction at 66 and Logan. Our transformation loan program is our incentive loan for people doing major value-added remodeling projects, and we did make 6 loans in 2022 for over $100,000, and we'll be talking about that program a little bit more in the EDA meeting, and you'll find out in here that we're already out of money for this year. So again, those housing programs really are continued strong in 2022. And then finally, our deferred loan program. I consider it, it doesn't sound like it's the sexiest of programs. It's for home maintenance for folks who have lower incomes, but it's really an important program. It has been also for many years we've done this program. And so we did 5 loans in 2022 and initiated 5 new loans. And there is unfortunately a long waiting list for that program. Some of our other programs are really resources for homeowners. Is our architectural and remodeling advisor programs. We had 78 visits between the 2 of them. We also, the HRA has a significant loan portfolio, and we service our own loan portfolio. So we processed 5 subordinations and 9 payoffs. Those payoffs then get recycled into our programs. And then finally, we support the Home Energy Squad program to encourage folks to make energy improvements in their homes. And we had 61 visits in 2022. And the fun pictures, Richfield Rediscovered, I'll just say a little bit more some of the focus. If you remember back in June, we had a conversation about this program and how to maybe redirect its efforts. And we really wanted to use it not just to create market rate homes, but to further other goals of the community. And so we built into it that we really expect any new home built to either include an accessory dwelling unit, to be a duplex, to have extra energy efficiency, and or to include accessibility improvements. And in fact, we have a very minimum level of universal design that we expect of all homes. So that was kind of the first major shift of that program since it began in the early 1990s. The other thing we do is instead of demolishing the old homes, substandard homes, we expect them to be deconstructed. And so there's some fun pictures there on the top of the home on 14th Avenue. In that process, we received a grant through Hennepin County to deconstruct that home. And we hope to and plan to continue that in the future. And get ahead of my note. Just some more programs. We always like the before and afters of transformation. There's somebody who put on a second story. So we're still seeing that. And, what a change to that house, right? I wouldn't have known it was the same house if Celeste hadn't insisted it was. And then this one is a little bit more modest, but just the things that people can do in their Richfield homes to really make it livable and work for today's families. And, part of that program, along with Richfield Rediscovered, was to just offer some opportunities for folks as their kids get older. We're finding, especially in the 80s, that people were leaving the community because they couldn't find housing that worked for their families. And so both programs have been successful in offering those opportunities. And I'll turn it back to Melissa.
And I'm just going to close with some final thoughts on staffing updates. As I mentioned, a lot of new staff and staff in different roles, so familiar faces, but different roles. Julie and I have both taken on new teams, new responsibilities, and as we've done that, there have been some gaps. So the 2 of us have been trying to fill multiple positions over 2022, and hopefully in 2023 we'll have less of that. We also lost Kate in 2022. They stole her from us for upstairs. She's the communications specialist now. But the entire city now gets to benefit from Kate's energy and creativity. And then, as I said, Mert had been with the city for about 30 years. She was our CD accountant. She transitioned to part-time in 2022 and continued to help us out. And we're largely on our own now, although she does still accept our calls and is willing to help us out. But she's greatly missed, and the market for folks in finance, particularly government finance, is very difficult. Our finance department will tell you that. So that continues to be a struggle. We did welcome Brian Durwalker. He is our new housing specialist, our new Kate, and he's been a great addition. He has some skills that we didn't have on the housing team, particularly related to inspections and things like that. So great addition. And then this is the rest of our team. A number of you interact with LaTanya Dubois, and then Talisa Parsons is part of our Section 8 team. Lynette Chambers runs our multifamily programs and is just wonderful with our Kids at Home program in Section 8. Michelle Luna is also one of our Section 8 technicians, and she is wonderful. She has great rapport with our clients and does a wonderful job. Celeste McDermott, and then Brian. And then 2023, spoiler, Jan Youngquist has joined our EDA team as well. And that's it for the presentation. Julie and I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have them.
Well, first of all, welcome to Jan, our new Economic Development Manager, and thank you for the report. It's always amazing when you see it all in one place, everything that's been done. Is that going to be posted on the website so the community can get back to it?
Yes, we will post that on the website, and we'll talk to Kate about sharing that more broadly.
I think it's already there. It does say 2017, but it is the 2022 one. So you got to click into it and it works. Just no questions, but commentary. I think, like as Chair Supple said, like we see all these things throughout the year, but when you see them all at once, it's overwhelming. The amount of work that you guys, get done on a normal basis, but even got done with all the changes that were happening. And, we're still living through a pandemic, right? And all of that as well. And I think that's just huge kudos. And I love the 618 number. And I think that's always you guys start off your focus on the people, and that really shines through in all the work you do too. So thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just share my thanks as well. I appreciate the structure of the conversation, starting with, these redevelopment projects are kind of on hold. Some are happening, some aren't. Because I think from the community's perspective, and when I have my council hat on, that's what I'm very aware of. But that's really just the tip of the iceberg of the work you're doing. So it's so great to be reminded of how many people are being impacted by the work you're doing and how much staff is really showing up for the community. So thank you for the rest of the iceberg.
Okay. I got my screen back, so that's exciting. We can move on to item number 2, which is HRA discussion items. And I hear we have quite a few discussion items. Should we start with Mary Supple?
Well, actually, most of my discussion items are for the EDA.
Okay, well, we
but
can hold.
I did, perhaps Commissioner Hayfoot or Larry might want to speak about this as well, but I was really impressed with the table at the Eco Fair from the Community Development Group, and I'm hoping that the handouts can be posted online somewhere. They were really great. So thank you for all the hard work, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I'll just add, I really appreciated taking the work of redevelopment and putting it into the context of the Eco Fair, because I think we oftentimes will hear the opposite criticism that a new building is coming in and it's tearing down trees, and people will assume that's bad for the environment. So to directly address that with real numbers that are tangible to that audience was just really spreading the message in a useful way and sharing good facts with people who have a passion for those issues.
I got to spend some time at the Habitat House that is being built on 66 and Logan, so I got to see the inside and spend some time there, and they are making amazing progress. And if you haven't gotten to go or help out at a Habitat House, I highly recommend. Painting's always a really good skill that they need, amongst other things, but they are coming right along. And I think what they said was holding them up right now is the long Minnesota winter. And so most of the inside is done, but waiting for the ground to thaw enough so that they can pour the driveway and the sidewalks and the rest of the landscaping. And they are doing their darndest to keep those trees alive. They have moved them around, and they absolutely talked about how they're trying to keep the landscape alive and well and going, but it has been quite the challenge this winter, I think. So I know we appreciate the efforts they're going to there.
When the house is complete and before the family moves in, will it be an opportunity for the community to tour it to see the work that's been done?
Yeah, I asked that question, and they said that they have stopped doing that during COVID and haven't quite picked it up yet. And so they definitely said they will pass along photos as it happens, but there probably won't be a big event that happens. But if I get photos, I will pass them along to everyone so you can see it.
We can usually arrange a tour for policymakers, and we have before, so we can, thank you for that reminder that we will reach out before it's too late.
Perfect. I think they were thinking they were going to close in June is what they were hoping for, so a little timeline for you. But yeah, it's great to see the universal design really kind of come to life in a house. And so the ramp is in the garage, and then the wider doorways and handlebars on the main floor. It's just, it's really nice. We see that on paper, we talk about it a lot, but to see it in practice is great to see too. So yeah, I recommend. That's my little update. Anybody else? HRA discussion? Okay. Item number 3, Executive Director's Report, although you just gave us a long report. Anything else?
That's correct. I think you've heard enough from me. I do not have a report tonight.
All right, sounds good. Item number 4 is claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And that leads us to the adjournment of the HRA. And we'll wait a hot second for the EDA. I think it is. Yeah, can we get back to the maybe not? There we go. All right. Good. All right. So we'll call this meeting to order of the Economic Development Authority of the April 17th, 2023. It is 7:35. At this time, we will have the open forum. So each speaker is to keep their comment period to 3 minutes to allow for sufficient time for others. Comments are an opportunity to address the EDA. Please refer to the EDA agenda and minutes webpage for additional ways to submit comments. You can also call 612-861-9764 or email ldubois@richfieldmn.gov with any questions. You can call into the open forum right now by dialing 1-415-655-0001 and use the webinar access code 24585674685, and the password is 1234. Is there anybody called in waiting?
There is not.
All right. Well, again, if anyone does happen to call in, let us know. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular Economic Development Authority meeting of March 20th, 2023. Is there a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any comments, questions, concerns? All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The motion passes and the minutes are approved. We will move on to agenda item number 1, which is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Any changes or comments? Nope. All right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Item number 2, the consent calendar. Executive Director Palman?
Yes. Thank you, President Reese Daniels. The consent calendar contains several, actually in this case, a single separate items, which are acted upon by the EDA in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended action have also been approved. No further EDA actions on these items is necessary. The single item on your consent calendar tonight is to consider acceptance of the attached report titled Richfield Business Assistance Analysis and Recommendations. That report was presented to you earlier in the evening at the work session. And that concludes the consent calendar.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll move to accept or to pass the consent calendar.
Second?
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent calendar is approved. Item number 4 is consideration of the approval of revisions of the Transformation Load Program guidelines.
Thank you, Reese Daniels. I'm President Reese Daniels. I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Director Julie Urban for the report.
Thank you, President Reese Daniels and members of the EDA. The Transformation Loan Program provides a financial incentive to homeowners for initiating major remodeling of their homes to meet their housing needs. Major remodeling projects are defined as those exceeding $50,000 in cost. These loans are eligible for an incentive loan equal to 15% of the total project cost, not to exceed $25,000. The loan is a no-interest, no-payments loan that is due and payable when the homeowner sells their home or is forgiven after 30 years. The accessory dwelling unit pilot program was first approved by you in November 2019 and was extended through the end of 2022. The ADU pilot program allowed a higher loan amount for transformation loan applications that included an accessory dwelling unit project. Constructing an ADU can be very cost prohibitive. Providing more funding and resources offers the homeowner added incentive to complete their ADU project, while also giving staff a mechanism for outreach and education to the broader community. Since the approval of the ADU pilot program, 2 ADU applications were received. One project withdrew their application and one is currently under construction. Staff regularly receives inquiries about ADU project funding and would like to incorporate these pilot project guidelines into the Transformation Loan Program guidelines on a more permanent basis. Additionally, staff has been exploring ways to support energy efficiency and accessibility-related upgrades through the Transformation Loan Program. Similar to ADUs, energy efficiency and accessibility-related projects can be cost prohibitive. In order to offset some of these costs, staff would like to offer additional incentives for projects meeting these city housing priorities. So the following changes to the guidelines are being recommended. Projects that include an ADU that meet city standards will be eligible for a higher loan amount of 20% of project costs, not to exceed $30,000. For projects that include energy efficiency or accessibility-related upgrades that total at least $10,000, an additional $2,500 in loan funds will be available. These upgrades must be done in conjunction with qualifying value-added improvements. Energy efficiency upgrades must include improvements from multiple categories, such as materials, heating and cooling, appliances, electrical systems, and weatherization, subject to approval by our housing specialists. References to the application period itself are also updated to reflect current processes. There used to be something in there about lotteries, and it's just not something that we do anymore. And so we wanted to make some update as long as we were updating the other parts of the program. And then I would add, Commissioner Supple pointed out that we still talked about single-family dwellings, and since our zoning ordinance has been updated to allow duplexes as a matter of right in our single-family district, that perhaps the transformation loan should also be made available to an owner-occupied duplex. And so this afternoon, LaTanya sent you an updated revision to the guidelines that did make that clarification. And so staff thought that was a really good idea, and thank you. It was something that we just overlooked in our review. And so we appreciate that, and I'm hoping that you also will support that. And with that, I can answer any questions.
All right, anybody have questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I had a couple questions, particularly as this relates to Richfield Rediscovered, just because some of the things we're looking for are similar in both programs. And I am wondering, do we allow people to like double dip, that if they are doing a Richfield Rediscovered thing that includes an ADU, can they also get a transformation home loan towards that new structure, or?
No,
Okay.
We used to have it had to be of a certain age, but that was when we used different funding, so I have to rethink that. No, it would have to be a home. I mean, if it were a brand new home, I mean, no.
Okay.
Maybe if it were 2 years old and they decided to do a major remodel, that's unlikely,
Yeah,
right?
but it's
In
not one
theory,
thing.
they could apply for a transformation loan, but no, we wouldn't couple the two together, no.
Okay, thank you. Another question I have, so first off, the item before us is as revised as sent today, right? It includes the correction?
Yes.
Okay, and my other question was, and I'm not sure it needs to hold up today's discussion, but in general, is there a reason why we don't have those ADA incentives also available if somebody wanted to convert a house to a duplex, but became a duplex instead of a single family with an ADU?
That could happen. I mean, you could use a transformation loan to do that, most definitely.
But it wouldn't, as written, it doesn't seem like it would be eligible for that extra allowance, the ADU allowance, when it seems like it's kind of doing the same thing.
If it were a
So right now you are allowed additional money or additional higher rate of loan if I'm adding an ADU to my single family house. But from my read of this, it doesn't seem that I would be able to be eligible for that higher amount if I were making my single family home a duplex through a similar process.
a higher amount.
I'm basically saying I think the ADU specific amount should also apply if it were becoming a duplex because it's achieving the same goal of adding a housing unit.
Okay. That's certainly something I'd welcome other opinions about.
And I guess, is it clear to the other commissioners what I'm talking about?
It's certainly a transformative project, yeah. So, I mean, it certainly would be eligible for a transformation loan, and what you're saying is that it would be nice to offer the higher $30,000 if somebody were converting their single-family home to a duplex.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think that makes sense. Is that something we can do tonight, or is that complicated enough that we have to bring it back to a future meeting?
If you wanted to authorize us to revise the language accordingly, I feel like I understand what you're aiming for. I would want to, I wouldn't want to write it right here. It's always good to go back and read through and then really be thoughtful about the language. I could share it with you in an email if you would be more comfortable with that idea. It's up to you if you want us to bring it back next month.
Can I ask what the harm would be in waiting till next month? Do you have?
There really isn't. We are out of money.
Okay.
They process 6 or 7 loans in the months of January and February, which is a lot. I think the closing on the last one is tomorrow. So there isn't funding. We had the ideas. We wanted to get it processed and be ready. And plus, we're doing a home tour. The Minneapolis-St. Paul home tour is featuring a Richfield home, and so we're going to have a presence there. We're going to be doing our home tour in the fall, so we want to be ready with the guidelines and so we wanted to be ready. But yes, we could certainly just bring it back to you and put it on consent, maybe, if that.
Yeah, I would suggest maybe waiting to make sure we get it right.
Okay. Sure.
I think then we're not trying to fumble through it. I have a similar question to what Mr. Hayford-O'Leary's first question was, and really, but more around the energy efficiency part. So there's lots of funding for energy efficiency at the federal, state, and local level. But nowhere as I read it really stated what I'm worried about is how much are you going to be double dipping or triple dipping, or, we want to have this, but we want to make sure we're not overpaying. I guess I'm not saying this right, but so is there any language that we want to change this to say of the out-of-pocket expenses for a project would have to equal so much so that we aren't overfunding, as people are doing all sorts of grants?
They do submit receipts, right? But we don't necessarily see if they get rebates on appliances and stuff like that. It's unlikely if you're doing a major remodel that you will come out ahead.
Yeah.
That's part of why we kept it modest. We have not seen a lot of folks really doing, the whole package. And so we really wanted to sort of see more of it.
Okay.
It's something we can certainly monitor.
Yeah, I'm just curious, like,
I was
with the
trying to also make it administratively
Right.
not too burdensome.
I would imagine like solar panels would fall into this, right? And so if you were adding solar panels to your house along with batteries,
Mm-hmm.
like that's a significant cost, but it can also be funded from the federal government over years of
Mm-hmm.
use. And so I think it's an important thing to help fund, but how can we make sure that we aren't overfunding that?
Well, we could increase the amount. I mean, we went with 10,000. You know, we could require them to spend more, a higher amount. We thought 2,500. We have a finite amount of resources for this program, right? So we didn't want to get too generous, right? We can't afford to be super generous. But so you could increase that amount. It was based on just some numbers that we've seen, but
Yeah, I guess I'm not looking to like increase the dollar amount, but just that it's coming from out-of-pocket costs, right?
well, I could give that some thought before next
Yeah.
month. How about that?
That sounds great.
Would that be?
So, is there a motion to review this next week? Would that be the appropriate motion to table it till next meeting? Or do we vote against it? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, what I was wondering is, well, does staff have, I guess the question is, can we approve what we have here, knowing that it may be amended again next month?
I would recommend you just maybe make a motion to continue discussion, and we're perfectly fine with that. Again, we aren't, I mean, we have this event at the end of the month, but I think it's fine to give people teasers of this is what we are going to be encouraging.
Perfect.
Without details.
Is there a
So
motion?
then I'll move to continue this item until next month.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other comments? Anything else we would want so we can actually approve it next time? Give them any other thoughts? I would say if not, email and let them know if you come up with anything after.
These are great suggestions. We appreciate your feedback. I
Yeah.
have no problem thinking some more and bringing it back. Absolutely no problem.
Appreciate that. All right, it's been moved and seconded to continue this to our next meeting. Is all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Any EDA discussion items? Ms. Supple, yes, Mayor Supple.
So this first one, I wanted to point out that the Elson Brothers Garage on 78th and Portland closed on April 14th after 130 years in business. They started out as a blacksmith shop in 1893. Wow. So I want to thank the Elson family for their dedication to the community, and we will be recognizing them at the council meeting in May, but I just wanted to mention it here as well because that is a long commitment to our community, and I want to thank them for their dedication. It was an amazing story of how the business developed from the blacksmith shop, and I suspect that'll get explained at the May council meeting.
Thank you.
Then I had
Go ahead.
a second item. So this has to do with the U.S. bid to the 2027 World Expo that would take place in Bloomington. And the theme is the healthy people, healthy planet, wellness and well-being for all. If we win the competition and get the bid, it would be happening in 2027, but it would be the first expo in 40 years. And there are 5 countries that are in the competition at the moment, and so that'll get decided on June 21st. So this would be a fabulous positive economic impact for the whole region. So I guess my discussion item is if you can keep us posted on what's happening, because we've had this big discussion on economic development and it would have a big impact. And I'm wishing the Expo 27 team that's going for the bid in Bloomington that wish them well on June 21st. And then my last item is I just wanted to say thank you so much for the fabulous report that we had at the work session. I'm looking forward to the continuing discussion, and I'm hoping that folks will tune in and listen to that work session because there was a lot of really good information.
Anybody else? All right. We'll move on to the executive director's report.
Thank you. I have 2 items tonight. The first is once again to welcome our new economic development manager, Jan Youngquist. Jan, if you did want to join us for a second up at you're welcome to sit up here. I'm going to put Jan on the spot. Jan is joining us from the city of Hopkins. Maybe she can fill us in a little bit on her background.
Good evening, and thank you. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Jan Youngquist. I'm your new Economic Development Manager. As Melissa said, I was previously with the City of Hopkins for 5 years as a Community Development Coordinator, and so I worked on redevelopment projects, worked closely with the local business community, also did housing policy and marketing and many other things. Prior to that, I was at the Metropolitan Council for 12 years as a planning analyst in regional parks and trails. Earlier in my career, I lived in Portland, Oregon. I worked for a developer of assisted living and senior housing, doing land acquisition and construction and permanent financing and land use entitlements. And then prior to moving back to Minnesota, I worked for a suburban school district in the Portland area that was growing extremely fast. So I was a facilities planning manager where I planned for long-range planning for where new schools should be built, land acquisition. I did enrollment forecast, school boundary changes, so kind of a wide variety of things, but I like to say that I've worked with all of the things that make a great community, whether it's schools or housing or parks and trails or local businesses. So happy to be here, and I think your strategic plan and the work that John did on the business assistance analysis provides a really great framework moving forward, so I look forward to working with you.
Welcome, and we are very excited to have you and look forward to working with you more. So thank you.
All right, and then the other item I wanted to mention was that home tour that Julie referenced, the MSP home tour, and we will send out information via email in case you want to participate in that and visit the Transformation Home in Richfield that is on the tour. And that's it for tonight.
Thank you. Anybody questions at all? Okay. We'll move on to item number 7, claims. Is there a motion to approve claims?
I'll move to approve claims.
I will second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the claims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The claims are approved, and that takes us to adjournment. Thank you, everyone.